How was you all's day?
Oh, fine. Busy?
Very busy. I'm a teacher, so we get tomorrow off.
Oh,
Okay, wonderful. Okay, excellent. Okay, my undergrad is history education. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so we already live. Everybody's already tuned in to our small talk. We want to thank everyone for taking time out of your busy schedule to engage with us in a serious conversation today on Off the Record, dealing with marriage. And as we know, that strong family equals strong nation, and marriage is something that we need in the community. I'm honored to have my co-host, Sister Jamila Afia, coming from Phoenix, Arizona, and Brother Deryl, and our guest, Brother Deryl and Sister Rosa, coming from Texas. I don't know specifically which city. Which city in Texas?
Fort Worth.
Fort Worth. Okay, yes, sir. We're coming from Fort Worth, Texas. Could you all welcome you all to the Off the Record? Thank you all for taking time out of your schedule, and thank you all for watching. Well, the first question I have for you, Brother Deryl and Sister Rosa, is who chose who first? Who made the initial contact to like each other first, to show interest?
Well, I think it was a mutual thing because she was down on the college campus taking what? Master's courses?
Master courses.
And her roommate introduced us.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going by, taking like a sneak peek in her dorm room.
Okay.
Looking in to see how she looked.
Okay.
And she was laying on the floor doing her schoolwork.
Mm.
So she looked up and smiled, and I smiled, and that was the initial meeting.
Okay, excellent. And Sister Rosa, what was it about Brother Deryl that made you interested in him?
Wasn't. Yeah, he did that little peek, but he wasn't crossing my radar. I really wasn't interested in anybody. I went to go visit only because my roommate needed a chaperone, as I thought. And he really wasn't on my radar. He said it was a mutual agreement, but as time went and as we talked, I can honestly say there was something about him. Now, he was just getting into Islam when I met him. He was going to the meetings, going out as a college student. So I don't know how I have to tell you that when we had conversation, I'm not gonna lie to you. When he came the second time to get a sneak preview, I was frying a bologna sandwich because I didn't know, anything about that. And he was very, very real to tell me what was going on in the real world and why I shouldn't be eating bologna and what's wrong with it. It was those kind of encounters, but there was just something about our conversations as we were going throughout the summer, because I was there for two summer terms, that I can honestly tell you that in July, when I came back for the second summer term, he may not remember it, but I was looking somewhere else, but I couldn't stop thinking about him. So I actually returned back for the second summer session, and I basically told him, I choose you. Now, he probably didn't know what. He probably didn't know what I meant, but I choose you. Now, later on, he figured out that I had gone somewhere and, but he wasn't on my radar at time. But this is where I can honestly tell you that Allah put us together. Allah put us together because I was going a different direction. I was doing my own thing.
Okay, excellent. And thank you all for your comments. And thank you all for your responses. And thank you, Brother Vince. Salam, Naima, holding it down. Okay, so Jamila, your question, ma'am.
My question would be, Sister Rosa, what about the conversation sparked it to the point where you were like, I choose you, or he's the one I want to spend the rest of my life with?
You're taking it a little too fast. Because we've known each other for 28 years, but we've only been married 25.
Okay.
So in that 3-year term, there was a lot of getting to know I don't think you may not be right. But I couldn't stop thinking about him. I couldn't stop wanting to talk to him, if that makes sense. And as you know, I was a teacher, so I was down doing my master's. So when I returned, I was busy, doing teacher things. I was in middle school, I was coaching. And he was finishing up his last year because he had been in the service his last year of college. So it was like we really were just really filling it out, but it wasn't, oh, this is who I really want. But it developed throughout time. I mean, I can honestly tell you throughout the conversations that you asked, he became my best friend. I wanted to, when I got off work or finished coaching, I wanted to talk to. And we didn't have lengthy conversations. Our conversations really were with substance because he was really filling me out and I was filling him out. And then of course, by that time I had my first bean pie and I had been out to the mosque in Dallas. So, we were becoming conscious. But I think I hope I answered your question. So it didn't start off like that, but as we progressed, it was comfortable. And I can't really explain to you, he became comfortable. And I'm not saying that, we didn't have issues, but still at the end of the day, that was my best friend.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. And thank you all for watching. And I want to say that this podcast has been brought to you all by my sister Miriam's book, ABC, I Love Me. Thank you, Mimi, for the sponsorship, as well as my brother's promotion, his street premiere, his video editing. Thank you all for putting the money up to help us keep this podcast going. Okay, next is for Brother Deryl, what has been the greatest trial in you all's marriage, and how did you overcome that?
Oh, wow. I guess it was pretty much after our twins were born. And she experienced postpartum depression, which, I mean, that's a real thing. And during that time period, she actually rejected one of the twins and took to the other twin. So that was a real experience that we went through where, the twins themselves, one of the twins had got pretty much malnourished because it wasn't getting enough. So we had to go through, eventually CPS came in and took our twins for a few weeks, and we had to, ultimately my wife had to move in with my aunt in Dallas. And I was still in Fort Worth with my son, Omari. So it was just me and Omari at the house, and she was in Dallas with my aunt living there for, I think, 6 to 8 months. So that was a trial for us, but how we overcame that, Allah is the center of our relationship, so it took a lot of prayer, to Almighty God, Allah, and just believing that everything was going to be all right. And eventually, everything was all right. Allah brought us back together after the trial, 6 to 8 months. We came back home and, we began our life again anew. So that was a pretty stressful time, It was nothing that was like something she did or I did. It was just something that occurred and we had to deal with it. So for me, it was stressful, but it was just me and my little man, hanging out together and trying to make the best of it, and we'll go over there on the weekends to be with his mom, because at the time, I was the study group coordinator still. So, I had, study group coordinator duties to do because we was on the verge of being a mosque at the time. So it was pretty busy as well. So I went through all of that on that post, but we came through it by the grace of Allah, and it was pretty rough, but we managed. As you can see, we're still here.
Hey, yes, sir. Okay, 1 second, Sister Jamila, because I'm going to come to your question. But Brother Deryl, and then Sister Rosa, I want to ask you as well. But Brother Deryl, a follow-up question to that would be, what advice would you give to future husbands as far as dealing with, or husbands now who may not know how to deal with a wife who's dealing with postpartum depression?
Well, you have to know the signs of it, I would say. And I didn't know anything about it until it was mentioned to me. And, you know, then I began to observe, I had to study her. And I could see the signs of what she was going through, you know, the denials of certain things, you know, because she thought she was caring for the children, but she actually was not, because she was going through the postpartum depression. And you have to be patient as a man, and you have to step in and help out. You know, you have to, there's nothing wrong with you stepping in and help feed the babies and bathe the babies, you know, change the diapers, even though they was twin girls, but you have to do what you have to do to help your wife out.
Yes, sir.
You know, and it taught me that, you know, you have to be there for them and you have to care for them. I mean, I learned from that experience how better to treat her for the subsequent births after that. You know, we have 6 children total. So after the twins, we had 2 more children, you know. So I think I learned how to treat her better on the last 2 pregnancies, because, you know, that postpartum comes from stress. Okay. So I wasn't there enough, I would say, to be like Joseph in the Bible. You know, he was there for Mary, caring for her and all of that.
Yes, sir.
I had to, you know, learn how to do that, you know, and be there for your wife when she's pregnant like that. No stress around. As much as you can, keep the stress out of her life while she's carrying your child. You know, so just do the best you can to make her pregnancy stress-free.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. And thank you all for your questions. And I'm coming to that. My sister Miriam says, oh, beautiful. And Brother Vince, I'm coming to your question in 1 second. Sister Rosa, what has been the greatest trial in you all's marriage from your standpoint, and how did you overcome it?
I have to agree. I have to agree with what Brother Deryl said. But let me just go a little further, because I don't want to repeat anything. But throughout that time, both of us, it was not anything that was ever said. My biggest concern were the children, because I had 2 children before, and then I had the twins. And that was the biggest thing. We never ever really discussed it. We would, you know, we would go to bed and we would pray, but it was like, well, what did you do wrong? Or why is this or that? Our biggest concern is what's going to happen and how are these children going to come from this and develop it. And we've never kept that story from them either. And they talk openly about it. But like, I'm going to follow up. He never missed a weekend. I always saw Omari. There was a lot that I went through, mainly because, like he just said, I was in denial. I thought nothing was wrong. Here, I'm this teacher, I'm educated, I know what. And so you've got a person that actually has no earthly idea. And every time he brought it up to me, oh, there was anger. There was like, what's wrong with you? That's for, other people. And, but like he said, we dealt with it. We still have not talked about it, because it's what went on. It was dedication. I mean, that's what marriage is about, is committed. And he committed to me, and I can never thank him for it. And I have to tell you, I think I also had a miscarriage. So you got to imagine the things I've done. I've had to call him and say, I'm on my way to the hospital. I'm at school at work because I'm having a miscarriage. That I had not revealed to him yet, but we had come back from Chicago and I had caught the flu. And so we're just in action. You got to go pick up the children, but don't worry about me. I'm at the hospital. I know how to drive myself home, but I need you to understand I'm losing a baby right now. So, but when I got to the house, he was there. He was there. Children were asleep. He was there. And like I said, we dealt with it.
Praise be to Allah. Excellent. Go ahead, Sister Jamila, your question.
My question would be, how did you balance and create time to continue to cultivate your relationship and your communication style through the ups and downs and the ins and outs of just busy, being life, being parents, working? How did you balance all that and still remain committed and making time for each other?
Let me go with this one. After these 6 children, they were old enough to, what do they call, children can stay alone by themselves and watch each other. We actually registered for a marriage course, and it was called Date Night. And it was every Thursday. To this day, I cannot tell you exactly what my children ate, but they ate, okay? Because we were leaving to go eat with this marriage seminar. And I have to honestly tell you that made a change, because after 6 children teaching, Brother Deryl was, he went from being the student coordinator to being the secretary to us always doing something in the mosque, that it just became a lot, and I lost myself. Mm-hmm. And he didn't have a problem. I'm trying to remember how the conversation came about, but we just ended up going. He didn't fight me. He didn't say, what's wrong with our marriage? He said, okay, let's go. And he was dressed up every Thursday, ready to go. Now, you know, I may be coming in late from tutoring or something, but he was ready to go every Thursday, and we did not miss a Thursday.
Mm. Excellent. Brother Deryl, could you answer the same question, please, sir?
Yes, it's about making that commitment to be together. I mean, you have to, you know, we're actually best friends. Hmm. So it really doesn't take much for us to have fun with each other. I mean, this is actually fun. We're having, you know, but it doesn't take us to, you know, really get dressed up, go out to eat, and, you know, go to the movies and stuff like that. You know, me personally, that's just not my thing. You know, but we could sit at home and watch a movie together.
Oh yes.
You know, if I stay awake on it, you know, but we still, you know, we just enjoy being together. You know, and you know, sometimes other couples be like, y'all don't never go out and stuff like that. But hey, we love each other and we enjoy one another's company. So that's just you just got to make a commitment to love each other and be, you know, have fun with one another. I mean, you don't have to be, you don't have to have couples night with everybody else. I mean, every now and then that's cool, but I mean, learn to, you know, learn things about each other so that you can stay together. That's how I answer that.
Excellent, and thank you for your great answer. Thank you for your question, Sister Jamila. Thank you all for tuning in and asking questions. Okay, Brother Arvin says, we'll offer this to you, Brother Deryl, then to you, Sister Rosa. What advice would you have for a single brother who, with no children, who wants to marry a sister with children? What are the do's and the don'ts?
Wow. And the reason I say wow is because as a young man, I just made I just swore to myself that I wouldn't date nor be with someone that had children. That was just me. Okay. But in Islam, I've grown to understand that, you know, that's a noble thing to do as a man, to take on the responsibility of the support of children that are not yours. You know, you just have to understand that's a big step. It truly is to go into a relationship with a sister that already has children. You know, you remember that movie Jerry Maguire?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cuba Gooding Jr. was telling him that, listen, single mothers don't date. They don't date. I mean, you know, they have responsibilities, you know, so it's not a plaything with them. So if you are considering a sister with children, just know that you're marrying responsibilities right off the jump. Okay, you have to be prepared to deal with children that are not yours. I mean, I know I gave my stepfather hell, so you just got to keep that in mind, you know, because to me, I only had one father. So what you can't tell me what to do.
Yes, sir.
You got to be ready to navigate those kind of children, as I was. You know, so I would just say that from a man's point of view of taking on the responsibility of marrying a sister with children. You know, that's a big step. That's a noble step. And if you're ready to do that, you know, all praise is due to Allah. Man, take care of business.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thank you for your question. Sister Rosa, your response to that question?
So, Sister Jamila, let me go ahead and tell you what he told me in those 3-year span before we actually got married.
Yes,
if I secretly smoked, I wasn't going to be the one for him. If I secretly drank, because you know, you always put your best face on, you're not good for me. And if you have a child somewhere that you have not introduced me to, we will just be friends. Now, that was open conversation that he had. So I knew that in the beginning, not that I was hiding any children from him. Now, on my end, I basically told him that if there is a child that I need to know about, I don't do mama drama. I don't do baby mama drama. Now, you will not be going to her house to do visitation. The child will come to me, and if you're not careful, I will go to court and the child will live with us and she will get visitation. So I was very serious about that. But as far as, because I have 4 daughters, and quite a few that they run into, that's the question they're asking now. So how old should that man's child be that I would consider to marry them? And we put both of our views together. But one thing I'm not going to do baby grandma drama, and and back then I was not going to do baby mama drama. We were very open in the beginning with that.
Excellent. And Sister Jamila, before we come back to your question, I want to make sure I respond to everybody in the comments. Thank you all for watching. Naima says, all praises to Allah. Mimi says, thank you for sharing your journey with us, both of you all. Naima says she loves Jerry Maguire. Yes, Naima, I'm aware of that. Some like brother Miami, walaikum salam, sir. And Mimi says Sister Rosa wasn't playing. LOL. Go ahead, sis. That's right. That's right. Absolutely. All right. Sister Jamila, your question, please.
Oh, this question is for the both of you all, and it might not be pertaining to you, but just a general response would be amazing. Being that you got married kind of young in your youth, and you mature, you grow, and then certain things you do agree upon in the beginning, and you mature, and sometimes you have a difference of opinion when you revisit it in your maturity. How would you handle that if that came up in a relationship?
Thinking?
Yeah. I think one of the things we really didn't discuss is with not how many children, but exactly our different stance on how we were raised and what we are willing to accept and not accept from our children and how we're going to raise them. I personally, you know, when you have 4 girls, they're daddy girls, and they're very much daddy's girls now. But it's just, I think we should have our views changed as we started getting more and more children. I can honestly tell you, Amari got the hardest because before I had Amari before we were married, but he was, you know, he's still in our life. But when we did become married, you know, Amari was my only child. He was the one that was living with me at the time. So then when you marry his dad, I learned there were certain expectations that he expected of his son. I had no problem dragging my child to MGT class. Brother Deryl had a problem with it, and when he started drilling like a girl, that's when he cut the line. You know, what you gonna do with him? I mean, I've been doing this, so some things you just have a different opinion. Another thing is, I can tell you, for the first 6 months, I wasn't really sure if he was going to be able to do or be the man that I needed him to be, although we're just best friends. I took the trash out for 6 months because I just didn't think he would do it and do it right. So I was not feeling like I could let go. So a lot of that has changed now. This man buys everybody's shoes, including me. So, you know, you have to let some things go.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, but she was an independent sister, you know.
Yes.
And when you're independent like that, you know, when you get into a relationship, then things have to, you have to let go. And I think it was kind of difficult for her to let go of being that independent, like she said, taking the trash out and stuff like that. Well, she didn't have to, but she was just so independent, you know. Hey, you know, I'm here now. I can handle that business. It's not a problem, you know. And stepping out and say, okay, I'll pay the bills, you know, and things like that. You have to just, because we were raised, you know, our daughters are raised to be independent, you know, but she didn't understand that, you know, I had been on my own since I was 17. You know, I left the house, you know, at 17 and never looked back. So I was a pretty independent brother, you know, as far as taking care of myself. You know, she met me, you know, I knew how to cook.
Oh, yes.
I knew how to clean. You know, I knew how to do all of that. Everything that a man looked for a woman to do, I was taught how to do that for myself. So it was not like she was meeting somebody that was needy. You know, so we both had to accept certain things. You know, I wash my own clothes, you know, because that's just what I was used to doing, you know. So some things you have to let go and then enjoy the fruits of being married.
Excellent. Great question and great responses. And thank you all for your questions in the audience as well. Sister Rosa, what has been the best part of marriage for you?
Oh, I'm gonna have to. There's a lot here.
There's a lot.
There's a lot here. Okay, you're gonna have to come back. I'm gonna have to. I wasn't expecting this one. I was expecting something a little bit easier. The best part of marriage.
Okay, yes, sir, Brother Deryl. The best part of marriage for you, sir?
Oh man, coming home to a wife.
Hey, okay, yes, sir.
Waking up to a wife. I don't understand the single life, you know. I mean, I enjoy being married. I mean, I'm absolutely in love with my wife, and I just love being married. I mean, I don't understand, you know, the you know, wanting to lay down with no one, wake up to no one, you know, leave out the house, come back to no one.
Yes, sir.
It's kind of old. Yeah, you know, we've been together, I mean, like 28 years, you know. I was 21 when I met her, and she was 25, you know. She's almost 4 years older than me.
Would you stop that?
But that's my joy of being married to her, but in the family aspect of it too is part of marriage, you know, the children as well. You know, I love all my children, have fun with them, you know, it's always never a dull day with them. Right. So that's me.
Sister Rosa, you want us to come back? We're gonna keep moving to another question and come back to you. If you
no, I can do this real quick. I think the best part is that I know that this was not the man of my dreams, but this is the best fit for me. So my best friend as a husband is the best fit. I mean, like I said, I commented, he can cook. When you have 6 children and you're on maternity leave, it's beautiful to know that you're gonna eat. You don't have to get up. Just someone that we finish each other's sentences sometimes, or sometimes he'll call and we're thinking of the same thing. He wants me to cook this, or he's gonna cook this. So just the security behind it, but then also just knowing that there's a man that is my best fit, and he knows me probably better than anybody else. That's why I haven't left. I don't think there's anybody that, when I say haven't left, I mean I don't look anywhere else, because I don't think there's anybody else for me. This is who God gave me, and this is my best fit. And I pray, since he just said it, that I'm his best fit. And I think I'm doing pretty good for what he just said.
Hey, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all for your comments. Sister Jamila, your question, ma'am?
My question would be, how do you keep Allah at the center, and how do you keep your Islam the glue that keeps your marriage together?
Ooh, wow.
Wow.
That's a growth factor in your marriage. Because when we first got married, we used to get into little arguments, but I'm not the arguing type.
Nope.
Okay. So I'm not going to argue with you. I would rather, I don't want to talk about it right now. And, and sometimes I would just leave.
Yes.
And I would come back, but I don't. But
he would come back.
But she had to learn to understand the environment that I grew up in. Right. I grew up in a home with domestic violence. And I didn't want any part of that. So everything that I did not like growing up, I divorced myself away from it. Okay. So arguing and fighting and stuff like that, I didn't like it, so I wouldn't do it. It used to irk the mess out of her that, we couldn't stand there and just argue. I'm not doing that, because all of my life, I saw arguments lead to physical assault. I saw my dad, abuse my mom, so that's just something that I didn't want any part of. So I wouldn't argue with her. I haven't called her out her name. I've known her 28 years. And she can sit here and tell you, I never cursed her. I don't talk that way to her, nor my children. Now she cursed.
Joshua, he was walking out the door. Come on, where are you going, man?
So that's a growth thing. You learn to that Allah is the center of your marriage, because as the minister teaches us, truth settles it all. So if what she's saying is the truth, then you have to submit. If what he's saying is the truth, then you have to submit. Then if you have a trouble submitting to the truth, then you have trouble with Allah, because Allah is the truth. So that's what settles all arguments, But I would leave, calm down, and come back. And then we can have a more civil discussion. Okay, so that's how I would answer that question. It's a growth in your marriage. It's a growing process to truly have Allah at the center of your marriage. It's not something that you just have right off after you say I do, with your beautiful Muslim wedding. Allah is the center of everything. Well, come on now. You grow to that. You not had too many divorces to say that's so.
Absolutely.
It's a growing process. Yes.
Okay, Sister Rosa.
Yeah, and continuing on, it definitely was, because like he said, I was the cursor. But I grew up in a family where you drug it out until my mom got the last word, or she wore my daddy down. So that's what I was used to. But as we started developing, growing, and as I studied and realized, this is where the compromise and that comes in, is the fact that you have to realize he was damaged. There was a lot going on, and I could never imagine that, but I had to start being able to relate. So we went from me cursing when he walked out the door to me learning how to write my thoughts, because I have to tell you about this brother. When he comes with the truth, sometimes I don't want to accept it. And I know it's right, but then I can't get that response back. I don't know what to say, and so I get angry. Or sometimes there's things I want to say to him so that he can understand my point, but I can't get it out. So I learned how to write. I not learned how to write. He would find letters on his steering wheel. He would find letters on the mirror in the morning. things that I needed to say to get out, so that when he did come back, he'd understand my perspective. Now we can put both perspectives on the table, and you might get me to agree, or I may walk around the house and not talk to you for a minute. But and he's learned that. He's learned how to ask me to do something, to get me to do something. And he learns that when I'm doing something at midnight, because I know that it's disturbing him, that I get it. I get it.
Beautiful. And beautiful responses, and thank you for your questions, Mrs. Jamila. My mother did the same thing with my father as well, with the letter writing, and with the children, with all 4 of the children. She would always leave notes, and would upset me to read my mom's notes all the time. But that was an effective way for her to communicate as well. I was like, Mama, I know, I get it. Don't come home late. All right. Anyway, Brother Daryl, this is Brother Vince. He has a question from the audience. Brother Vince, please explain the importance of rearing a family towards financial freedom, owning land, and being your own boss, so that your children can be business owners and not slaves to a 9-to-5 job system. Brother Daryl.
Well, you have to, first you got to be an example of that before sometimes we teach, we teach a lot, but we don't do a lot. Okay. We can teach, do for self all day long, but we're not doing for self. So, and don't get me wrong, it's hard. So when you step out there, like, I've been in business for myself, going on 3 years now, and it's trials and error. When you're in business for yourself, it's stressful nights, stressful days. Then sometimes you have good days. When you're doing for self, you have an ability to even though it's stress, it's not the same stress as being stressed out working for someone else. Okay, there's a whole different stress. I got my passion to want to have something for myself from my dad. My dad owned his own business when I was young. He was a pharmacist. He had his own pharmacist. So I saw my dad working for himself. So that was my desire, and that desire, had a fire, and it finally got an opportunity, and I seized on it to own my own business. Now, you have to be that example for your children to want to do for self. If they see you doing it as their father, then more than likely they're going to want to do the same thing. Okay, if you work in a 9-to-5, then they're probably going to want to do that too. So as the head of the household, as the man, you have to be the example. Okay, and there's no greater example than experience and showing improvement. Okay, so we have to teach your children, yes, the importance of owning land. Yes, that's a big deal. We want to buy us some land pretty soon and put us a house on it with hopefully either a stock pond or a small lake, because that's the part of growing your own food. We got a garden in the backyard, so those type of things you have to show your children that this is what we have to do. I got a garden in my backyard because my dad had a garden in the backyard and I grew up. So I'm emulating him. So as a man, you go out there, you show your children what they're supposed to be doing, and I guarantee you they'll follow your footsteps.
Beautiful. Excellent question, Brother Ben. Sister Rosa.
I let him take the lead on that. My job is, as an educator, is to make sure that they have the knowledge and the power to go out and seek the knowledge, so that they're able to do exactly what he says. But he does more of because he's done for self, and I'm very supportive of him. 3 years ago when he decided, I was like, okay, what do we need to do? What do we need to do so that we can emulate and make sure that our children are going in that path? So I just try to make sure that they have the knowledge, they have the courses and the education. And it's not always a 4-year college. Not always a 4-year college, but they have the ability to do what they need to do so that they can do for self.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right, Sister Jamila, I'm coming to you for the next question. But first, Brother Deryl, as the husband, how have you been able to handle disappointments within the relationship?
Oh, well, I've been able to handle them pretty well. I mean, believe me, prayer works all the time. You know, in the Holy Quran, Surah 40, verse 60, it says, Allah says, pray to me, I will answer you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, that's a true statement. So, you know, when you have stress in your marriage, I mean, go to Allah and lay your as we said, leave it all on the prayer rug. I mean,
Yes, sir.
leave it there, and Allah will show you the way of how you're supposed to handle the disappointments that you may have. You know, you may be disappointed over something, but you grow from it and you learn how to really not do that again. You follow me? Because sometimes your disappointment is because of something that you have done.
Absolutely.
You know? And then sometimes it's something that you did not do. So you have to learn from those experiences, and then move forward in your life and in your marriage. I mean, I can't sit here and tell you that I've been truly disappointed with her. You know, I can't tell you that. Maybe on certain days I may have been disappointed at, but you know, I get over that. You know, I was kind of a zealot when it came to Islam, you know, and I was, why you ain't up praying? You know?
And I used to tell him why I wasn't praying.
You know, I had to figure that out, you know, that, you know, Islam is a personal thing, you know, and I had to really sit there and study that and come to realize, you know, the women are closer to Allah than the men are.
Yes, sir.
You know,
sir.
So when you think that she not praying, you wrong.
Right.
You know,
That's right.
it's us as men who have to hit that prayer rug and submit to Allah, because we gods. You know, He gave us power and dominion, you know, rulership. So we have to, you know, be more humble and submissive to Almighty God, Allah, because we God.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, so God's a man and we're men. You know, so sometimes we try to beat a God. You know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we have to be a little more submissive. You know, and I just watch how she says she gonna, you know, she wants certain things. You know. I remember her sitting there, we looking out the window together, and she telling me, "Can't you picture a little curly head boy out there playing?" And I'm looking at her like, "We done, ain't we?"
Yeah.
You know? Here I am, you know, 16 years later, I got a son. He's the last, but yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's just all interesting to me. You know, I just had to fall to the back and just realize that Allah and Allah's relationship with the woman is totally different. So, yes.
Excellent. Thank you, and thank you all for watching, Sister Rosa. How have you been able to handle disappointment in the relationship?
Making Allah sufficient. Making Allah sufficient, and that included me having to go back and renew my connection with Allah. Because, like I said, I lost myself with 6 children. You have a man that's walking out the door on you all the time. You know, it's just you had to go back, and it wasn't that bad. He didn't walk out every time. A lot of times when we were in heated conversations, yeah. But making Allah sufficient, finding myself so that I could be the best at that what I do, and then, like he said, prayer. I think everything that has come across us, I've prayed, and a lot of times he'll say something to me, and I'll just look at him and I'll say, okay. we're gonna get this because we're gonna pray. We're gonna pray. So making Allah sufficient.
Beautiful. Sister Jamila, your question?
This question is for Sister Rosa. When you saw the ego or the God power arising, how did you use your natural femininity to kind of swell the beast in a lot of ways?
I had to learn. At first I didn't. You already know the process. I already told you I was rough at first, but I can tell you something, MGT class, being around sisters, because I am the only girl between two boys in my family. So I didn't have a sister. So having a sisterhood was important, but then, you have to filter through and find out, why is this sister, what is she giving me? What's important? And luckily I had a lot of older and younger sisters that were able to, we could talk, could guide me through it. And a lot of that, like I said, you have to pray first, because that ego, when he first got into Islam, it was like everything I did. This is that 3-year process before we got married. Everything I was doing was wrong. I wasn't reading right. I wasn't studying right. I wasn't praying right. I wasn't, because this is what they learned on their end. We even got down to the bean soup. I think what the brothers was learning was better than my bean soup, but it's, you challenge. But the best thing I can just tell you is Allah gives that nature to calm. It's a nature within us to calm him down. And sometimes he doesn't even know that you're coming in a different angle at it. So I had to learn exactly how to strike, when to strike, and what was I going to strike with.
Yes, ma'am.
Beautiful. Excellent. Okay, excellent. Brother Daryl, what advice would you give to future fathers?
Woo. Well, we know that sons and daughters are a little different. As far as the sons, I would say try your best to talk with your sons about being men, okay? And spend time with them, because as men, sometimes we don't get the love that we should.
Yes, sir.
So I've learned that, because, we weren't, when our first child, the first 2.5, 3 years, I wasn't in his life because I was still in college, so I would see him on the weekends every now and then, but that bond wasn't there. Okay. But the rest of the children, the other 5, I was there for them, but you still, as a father, that's a delicate balance, Sons are pretty easy. They are. You just have to. I try to keep their manhood, or we should say that God in them. I try not to quell that God. Hey, I try to nurture it and let them be men. And not stifle them. Just try to make them feel comfortable as being men and not try to diminish their manhood. Build a manhood up and let them be men, but it's still a fine balance to let them know that, I'm still the daddy,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm not going to let you. And it's interesting because if you watch your sons, you can kind of tell at one point, at the point in their life when they're really feeling themselves as men.
My gosh.
I had to check Omari one time, because he was feeling himself, and his voice got kind of loud at his mom, so I had to check him on that, like, hold up, man. But it's a delicate balance with that. Now with the girls, girls are tough. I'm just telling you that straight up. At least from my vantage point. My God. It's the because they're gonna try you. girls are going to try their fathers. You know, I mean, if it's sneaking to try to be with boys and stuff like that, you know, behind your back, and, you know, why I can't have no boyfriend, and why I can't date nobody, and, you know, because, I mean, they going to ask you questions like that. You know, in Islam, we don't do the date thing, you know, so I'm trying to raise them to be good Muslim women, you know, and you get pushback on that. I mean, every now and then, here they come with this, okay, is he a little different now? Okay. So what do you think about me just talking to, it has not changed. It's the same 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, last week. It's still the same.
Yes,
You know, and then you got to put up with, not put up with, but you have to deal with the tears of your daughters. I mean, that's a stressful thing for a man, is the tears of his daughter. I mean, so whew, if you haven't experienced that, those who are on the who are viewing, those men who have experienced that, I mean, that's like a knife to your heart, you know, to hear your daughters crying over something, you know. And that just, I remember one time they were all coming home, and I don't know what they had did to my youngest daughter, Nisa, but she come through the door, she was just boo-hooing, you know, and I come out the bed like, wait a minute, what's the matter? What y'all are doing to my baby now?
Yeah,
you know, just upset about something, but you know, it's that thing that you just rush to their aid, you know. But that advice is just, you know, try to be the best father that you can, and you know, love your children. So that's what I'll say.
Excellent. And thank you all for your comments and watching. And Sister Rosa, what advice would you give to future mothers?
Woo. As far as future mothers, of course, we have to remember, number one, that these are not our children. Allah allowed these children to come to us so that we can do what we need for them. So these are not my babies. These are Allah's babies. So what I do with these babies, Allah is watching, and he has the last say so on what's going to happen. But we get possessive and think, oh, this is my child. No, this is Allah's child. And we have to make sure that everything that we're doing is in the right accord and with the right respect for and what Allah would want. One of the things that Brother Deryl had said is that, you know, at the beginning, that was something different for me. I thought I was a single parent because he was out doing nation stuff. He was out, you know, doing a job. We had different time schedules, and I thought I was the only one raising these children, and that's 6 of them. So a lot of that had to do with me losing myself. But the next part was, now that my children are teenagers, one thing that I have to realize is that a father is very important to girls. They're real important to a male because of the bonding they have, but there's also connection between a daughter and a father, because what they see in their dad is pretty much what they're going to branch out and look for. And that was the hardest thing. I thought when my, you know, daughters went off to college, I was going to get phone calls and we were just going to be, you know, doing the girl thing. No, it was, can I talk to daddy? Because now I've done everything that I need to do to get you where you need, you know, kept you chased, but now you need to ask about that male figure, you know, and making sure that I'm not being disrespected, making sure that, you know, my eyes are going in the right direction. So I had to learn to let go and let him come in. And so now it's his season. And I pretty much, you know what he's saying, because, you know, we talk. We try to keep it open with the children, but you have to be able to do your part in the rearing of children, and then you have to let the daddy come in and do his part. Let the father come in and be a father. Take them a little bit further, and that's real important for both males and females.
Beautiful. Sister Jamila?
My question would be, we have this sometimes generic perception of what marriage look like. So can you give like examples or give your perspective on what a happy marriage looks like in the good times and the bad?
Well, the good times, everybody's smiling, lovey-dovey with lovey-dovey together. I mean, and then you got bad times, and then the bad times, that's when you really get to discover things about your wife, your husband. Because in the bad times, if you're really trying to stay committed and grow together, that's when you discover like, oh, he is such and such, or he is such and such, the one. You feel me? It's not because the good times, the good times are going to be there. It's the bad times that you have to come through, because you're not going to, we tend to run from the bad, and get out of the marriage. I didn't sign up for this. Well, you did sign up for that. You just got to manage it and get over it. We're taught that the first 3 years of marriage are the hardest. And if you can get past the first 3, you can make 30. Okay. But we tend to not get past the first 3. The first trial hit, then we trying to run.
Yes, sir.
Get out of it. I didn't know she was like that. Okay, well, find out why she's like that. Because none of us came down from heaven. We came up through the white man's world. So it's things that happen in our life that we have to manage and learn how to get away from. As I said earlier, I had a certain childhood and she had a certain childhood. I decided to go opposite of my childhood to the benefit of myself and my family and my wife, and I think that's part of what made me stick. I can't say us, she has an answer for herself, but that's what made me stick in this marriage, is my willingness to do away with my past and try to move forward a bright future with her.
Sister Rosa?
For me, I'm a realistic. After a while, in the 25 years that we've been married, when the good time came, I was always expecting that bad time. I always thought, okay, we got all this good, so God, what's going to happen next? It's going to send us back the other direction. So I was always kind of hesitating and waiting for something to happen. But what I learned a lot is a lot of the bad times that you have in a marriage or relationship, it's man-made. It's created, man and woman created. Sometimes I really could have came forth and let him know, look, I done messed up. And we're about to have some bills, or we're about to have some debt or something. I could have let him know, and we wouldn't have had to go through him getting a phone call from a bill collector finding out that I had done something wrong, or whatever the case may be. So
Yes.
So the good times are beautiful. And when the bad times come in, like the storms come in, you have to take it, and you have to, like I said, you have to roll with it. But a lot of the things that happen throughout our life, as far as the bad times, as you're saying, or not so good times, I kind of created it, or maybe he created it, because we weren't really communicating, or I didn't do exactly something right, or I didn't exactly explain to him that I might have turned on a right turn instead of the left, and the car got hit, and I was going to tell you tomorrow, but then our insurance went up, and that's how he found out. So little stuff like that, we created. We created, and I had to learn that the fast way, and then stop looking for the bad, but go ahead and open up, communicate, tell the truth, because that's one thing that we know it's a family. Brother Deryl, He can take a lot of stuff, but he can't take you lying. My children learned that the hard way because they got whooped to death, but I learned that no, lying to him could be the worst thing.
Beautiful. And beautiful questions and beautiful responses. Thank you all. I see a lot of likes and I see people just showing a lot of love. Thank you all for saying good advice, beautiful advice. I want to thank Brother Deryl and Sister Rosa for taking time out of you all's busy schedule to help inspire me and many others. I want to thank you, Sister Jamila, for taking time out of your busy schedule to co-host. I'm definitely going to bring you back when you're available.
Thank you. Thank both of you all as well.
Does she know us now? Do you know us a little better now?
All your comments, all your advice, I'm taking a lot of it to heart, and I pray it helps somebody out there as well. That was beautiful. Like your spirit, your glow, it comes across the screen like you all are glowing.
Excellent. And this has been a good. I was nervous about this because this is my first time actually speaking with Sister Jamila and speaking with you all live, and we did it and it all worked out. So I'm grateful for this. I'm going to put this on YouTube tonight, and then I'll text it to you, Brother Deryl, and I'll send it to you, Sister Jamila.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you all very much, and please get a greeting to your families, and thank you all for watching. All right.
Thank you.
Walaikum salam.